Rolex, 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 Rolex. Imagine a fucking piece of metal that's sexy and is nice, controls how you live your life. And people are like, who the fuck has 4 Lamborghinis? Bruh, let me show you. Do you understand the amount of headaches, calls, maintenance, time associated with all those tasks? It's by understanding, goes back to the premise, it's all about worldview, right? So if you understand that the worldview is a created world, you understand that you're playing within a matrix or a sandbox. The sandbox has rules, whether they're natural rules of the universe, you're still bound by them. I like it, right? Because we talk about a video game, let's say Grand Theft Auto, and it's in a sandbox. You can't leave certain parameters. Yeah, you can go out and swim, but eventually, like, you can't go anymore. Whether it's because you sink, you lose air, you don't want to continue swimming, you don't have time, your game turn, whatever the reason is, you live in a sandbox, just like the real world. Where the fuck are you gonna go, bro? Like, you're stuck. Like, you're stuck inside a sandbox, regardless of how big the sandbox is. You're inside of a sandbox. Within that, you also have the concept of, if you have kind of a creationist worldview, this idea of a creator. So if you have a creator, now you have a creation. So you have the creation, which is in this case us, or the people that, or the environment that inherits kind of those attributes. But if you understand that this is merely a system or a stepping stone to something else, then you don't really give a fuck about what takes place in this world or what you gain from it or what you have. So if you can transcend your mortal flesh or like the suit that you're wearing and understand that you're not the suit that you're wearing, that the suit is merely a representation of who you are. And it's a vehicle by which you can operate in this 3-dimensional realm, right? This is how you operate. You operate in the 3-dimensional realm through this body, through your processors, through your eyes, through receiving information, breaking it down. But you're not bound by that. And whether you take psychedelics or you experience it through lucid dreaming at night, you understand that there's other shit out there that you can't explain.
Right.
That's the stuff that people need to be like, okay, like, it can't just be that millions of people throughout thousands of years are saying that they've seen visions, that entities have approached them. Well, every single person's delusional and crazy. Every single person is intoxicating and seeing visions. I mean, that's not necessarily the case. So there's a good argument for the fleeting shit of the world doesn't matter. And if our eyes turn to the creator, as opposed to focusing on the creation, then acquiring stuff in this game doesn't matter. There's no identity attached to it, but there's the ego of life that is so dangerous. And it's this ego of, I can do this, I can build, look at me, look at how grandiose I am, look at what I've done. That makes you feel immortal until you're not.
Right.
And if you go to like Budapest or you go to Prague, you see these huge castles constructed by the monarchs and by the emperors, and they're insane. They're a representation of what these guys were thinking. Like this was, when I'm gone, this is what represents my grandiose persona.
Mm-hmm.
But they're gone. Like, no, you can't even tell me the name of the building. You just say, oh, that's a cool building. So when people start accumulating and compromise their morality, their ability to sleep, their peace of mind, to obtain things or to take things from others to have them themselves, they've lost their way. And it's one of those things where it all comes down to worldview. It's how you perceive the world. And if you give a beggar, and you have a beggar, for example, begging for crumbs for 30 years, and then you put a meal in front of him, he's not going to share. There's a high likelihood that he's not going to share. Why? Because he's hungry. So it's the system's job to keep people hungry, alone, fending for themselves, like hobos, to feel like everybody else is in it to take from them. So if everybody else is in it to take from, fuck them all. I'm gonna do my own thing, take it all from me. And that's how a lot of these elites work. They're psychopaths. And you have to be sort of crazy to get to certain levels of society because of the other certain crazy people of society that you have to compete with at that level. And a lot of people are just not willing to get to that place. Now, I said it once and I'll say it again. To me, wealth, I define wealth in a different way than most people. It's a little bit of an interesting kind of definition, but it's more so a philosophy of life, not really a definition. My idea of wealth, and this comes when you have the ability to sustain yourself in a basic form, is, to me, the wealthiest person in the world is the person that wakes up with the least pressure on their chest. Every single morning, right? The wealthiest person is the one that wakes up and is like, it's good to be alive. Let's take the day on. Let's do this. I got it. Boom. And you excel and you pursue your passions and your fullest potential. To me, that is wealth. Now you can have a guy that's worth $100 million, $1 billion that wakes up and he's bedridden with cancer. Is he truly wealthy? No, because he can't do what entails wealth, which is what? The ability to do whatever the fuck you want, whenever you want, however you want. Freedom, abundance. And you can't have abundance if you're missing certain aspects in your life. So people look at all these celebrities that have a lot of followers, wearing a lot of bling, smiling and posing for the photos, but they're not with them in private in their bedrooms. They're not with them when they're signing those contracts. They're not with them when they open up those bank accounts and see that they owe a fuck ton of money to the IRS because nobody taught them how to pay taxes, right? So you worship these people, but then you realize that they're no different than you. Mm-hmm. And in fact, some of them are even worse than you. They're dumber, stupider than you are. They shouldn't even be where they are, but they're so easy to control that why wouldn't you put them there? So I think there's a good argument and a good case, circling back to your initial comment of worldview. And I think that if your worldview is all about me, then you're going to create a lifestyle where you don't give a fuck about anybody else. But if you have a life of servitude and servanthood and caring for other people and building things that transcend this physical realm, this 3D world that we live in, you could live a life of purpose. And it's in that purpose where you find the ability to every morning. And I think that that's the beauty, because you've made money, I've made money. And eventually it's like, okay, how much more do I need? Okay, perfect. I need more money. Why? To buy a bigger house, to buy a nicer car, to buy another Rolex, to buy another pair of shoes. It's all the same shit. And that's when it hit me. I was like, I'm just buying, like, bro, like Rolex, like just dumb shit. In this case, they're investments, so it's not really a big deal. But like, I can show you my closet. There's shoes I'm like, I've never even worn this. What the fuck is in my head? And it's like, it's not that I'm thinking, I'm programmed. I'm programmed to spend, because my success, right, as I'm programmed, is found in what I have and not in who I am. So once that hit me, I'm like, well, what the fuck? I'm not buying shit. And now I'm in the process of, if I don't touch something for 90 days, I get rid of it. That is my rule. If I have something in my house that I don't interact with in a valuable way for 90 days, I don't care if it's a shirt, hat, whatever it may be, a camera, a computer. If I don't use it for 90 days, gone, out of my house. Because all this clutter does what? Clutters the mind. Mm-hmm. If you have fucking 4 Lamborghinis in the garage, and people are like, who the fuck has 4 Lamborghinis? Bruh, let me show you. Let's say you got 3 cars in the garage, nice exotic one, a regular daily, and let's say you got a supercar. Do you understand the amount of headaches, calls, maintenance, time associated with all those tasks? All that, to me, not for everybody, because for some people, their passions, and I'm just using cars as an example. You can talk about anything. It can be your physique, it can be your relationships, it can be your house, it can be your business. It can be anything that controls your time and controls your attention. So imagine a fucking piece of metal that's sexy and is nice, controls how you live your life. When you get the oil change, oh, well, now this problem, now this phone call, now this. And people will be like, oh, well, I'll get an assistant, I'll do this, all that stuff. All the rich people that I know, bro, they're in their garage out here. Well, let me scrape this paint, like, oh, the paint's scraped. Oh, let me get the cleaner. Let me call this. It's like fucking maintenance 24/7. And the problem with 24/7 maintenance is that when you're maintaining material shit, you can't maintain yourself, because you only have a certain amount of time in the day. So instead of focusing on the exterior, you're focused on the interior, and you develop self. Why have a Lamborghini when you can be a fucking walking Lamborghini? That to me is the ultimate flex. Anybody can go out there and get a lease for a $2,000 a month, Lamborghini, Ferrari, whatever you want. But not every motherfucker can wake up, touch their toes, stretch, do some abs, drink some fresh spring water. I'm free today. That to me is true wealth. And once people start shifting their paradigm and their worldview, business becomes fun. Relationships become fun, because you're not chasing. Yeah. You're not chasing the motherfucker that made $1 million. Well, I got to go make $1 million. No, it's you. You don't compete. You become, and then you create.